What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Neon Trash. I'm your host, Tommy the Hammer. I got Hayes, I got Bee Cee, I got a Johnny Rocket. Tonight's Bee Cee's pick. Bee Cee, lay it on us, man.
Alright, well, of course I picked the Japanese movie.
No, you don't say.
What's new? This movie is from a director named Nagisa Oshima. He is pretty much one of the most boundary-pushing directors that's ever came from Japan.
Sweet.
He made a lot of political films in the 60s, but he also made a film called In the Realm of the Senses, which is one of the most sexually graphic films that's ever really been made. Like, it's more graphic than a Pink film. Like, they're fucking the whole movie.
Hey.
But the movie. But I mean, I didn't pick the movie because I was like, well, I want to watch some people fuck with my boys. I mean, that's fine. But the film is interesting because it might appear erotic on the surface, and then it goes places. And interestingly enough, it's based on the life or the lives of two real people. Mainly a woman named Sada Abe and her relationship with this man. So I'm excited for you guys to see how it all unfolds.
How excited are you?
He's fully torqued.
I am a huge.
How excited?
I'm a huge fan of this movie. I've seen it a couple times, and the director I would probably say is my favorite Japanese director of all time.
What?
So,
Damn.
Wait, what?
Just when you thought shit could get any weirder here.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I can't
Taking it
wait.
to a new level.
Knowing Bee Cee, I'm sure this is going to be an interesting film to say the very least. You guys know this routine. Check out the trailer.
Beat that shit!
We'll be right back, guys.
なんていうのか
安倍貞
なんだよ俺可愛いって言ってるじゃないかよ刃物握るよりも他のものを握った方がいいんじゃないのか
旦那様
お前堅気の女じゃねえだろそうじゃ時間がもったいない来な
And what a sultry, sexy 2 hours this has been. I like this movie. I like these two characters. You kind of follow them from the get-go throughout the entire movie with their sexual exploits. And you kind of gravitate towards them. You find certain elements to these two characters that are relatable, likable, and ultimately kind of voyeuristic to you. You're watching them as they're having sex.
A lot.
For a majority of the movie. And you can't help but be fascinated. I mean, some of the sexual acts are very straightforward. Some of the other sexual acts are extremely raunchy. And like I said earlier, it's relatable. You know, I mean, I think we've all been in relationships before where you take a deep dive with
Now we're talking about.
you know, with a significant other, and we've all been there. You know, you've spent late nights with a lover, you know, you've gotten involved with this person, and that's what I liked about this movie, is it was very realistic. And actually, I thought that this movie reminded me of a Clint Eastwood movie from the 70s called Play Misty for Me, where he is involved with like a sultry lover, and she becomes obsessed with him, and he can't shake her. You know what I'm saying? That's the angle of that movie. You
Stage
know?
5 clingers.
I just feel like in the 1970s, pornography and obsession and, you know, sex and lovers were like a big thing, a big topic, things that like directors and actors really wanted to kind of touch upon and make a statement about. And that's what this director does with this movie. Whether or not you gravitate towards it is, you know, very, you know, it depends on the viewer. If you're not really into raunchy, pornographic affair, you might see this movie and be like, I am completely repelled by this film. But if you're like me, I watch pornography, I like porno, you know, I have no problem with, you know, talking about sex and, you know, talking about it in a very upfront way, then you might gravitate towards this movie. So I liked it quite a bit.
Basically, what you along the same lines as you, but just like at first, like you're like, oh god, this movie's just about like I gotta go getting it on constantly, and then him getting it on with other girls, and then her doing something else, and yeah, a lot of fucking basically. But then like you see her just kind of like you see like her obsession and her delve into madness like slowly build and build and build. And yes, there's dialogue in this movie, by the way. Because we're talking about there might not been dialogue, but hey, there is. But anyway. So yeah, so that was kind of good. Good how it had that story to it, and then how it's based on a real events, and it wasn't too bad of a movie.
I mean, I was taken aback, even with the warning that Bee Cee gave us. Is like we're pretty much going to watch
this much
fucking
warning,
for 2
honestly,
hours,
what happened.
And I'm like, okay, let's see what he means by fucking for 2 hours. And what he meant was there's people fucking for 2 hours. But I mean, crazily enough, there like really is a story that kind of goes along with it, like this, really strange, descent into madness, and man, it was really captivating. Like you never thought. I mean, normally you watch a porno for what 5 minutes and then you're done, right? You're literally watching something like this for like, no, wait, all right, joking aside, like you're. I'm efficient.
I go for the storyline.
Joking aside,
Minuteman over
really
here.
captivated by. Like I said, I know what I like.
Okay.
Come on, can we get past this? Can we?
We're moving. Go. Oh, that's my fault.
But really, I mean, you're captivated by this relationship, and the focus on these two characters, so that you're like, all right, we're kind of along for this ride, no pun intended. And you're just kind of like, well, I mean, what's going to happen next? And there's like more raunchiness and fucking. You're like, okay, what's going to happen next? And there's more raunchiness and fucking. But you're kind of still like, okay, I'm kind of. I mean, I did. A few points. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Blossoming of the counterculture of the '60s and everything. Which kind of then went a little bit more gonzo in the '70s. So yeah, even 5-10 years prior, you couldn't have gotten away with making a movie like this. Even though they actually had to go to France to get this thing actually produced and made, really, because Japan they were like, no, you cannot just show all of this, like that's not okay. And the director's like, no, this needs to be shown because this is what happened. I want to tell the story like this.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go last because I do want to contextualize some things, because it is it's a complex film. It's not just porn, which I think some people probably would view it as that, but there's clearly more to it.
There's a lot of people that probably couldn't get over that aspect, the graphicness.
And I thought one of the interesting things, I mean, Tom and I are both really familiar with this, but the pink film genre, which is very big in Japan, which a lot of people will say that that's just porn, although there are pink films that are elevated to a different level and social critique and stuff. But usually, most of the time, pink films are designed to, as this booklet would say, titillate the viewer. Like it's supposed to turn the viewer on. Whereas this movie, it's not really about us, it's about these two characters. And it does become tiresome. And it's supposed to feel that way.
Yes.
Very much so.
But it's important to recognize that throughout the 60s, where Oshima really made a name for himself, he made very political films that outright denounced the Japanese government, Japan's treatment of Korean people. I mean, this guy, he wasn't just this pompous filmmaker. He actively tried to challenge the government. And this film actually fits very much in line with that. Right. He was trying to challenge censorship, but by also using a real event, and you can tell in the movie there's glimpses of it where you see the army going by, or you see these glimpses of these two people are outsiders. They're not high class people, and they're not viewed as such. And actually, a lot of the reason their relationship is the way it is, sneaking around or doing these things, is because of their class status.
Yeah.
And so when you think about all those things, like the movie is multi-layered. It's tiresome. It's like an arduous experience, but it's also fascinating. And when you know more about the director and like you're like, oh shit, he's like actively called out the Japanese government on multiple occasions about a lot of their bullshit. And I think that like there's a level of artfulness to this that you won't find in most films that are so sexually graphic. There's a lot going on here, and while it's not everyone's cup of tea, which I totally understand, I do hope it's one of those movies that people can appreciate, and I also hope it's one of those movies that can change people's perspective on like what film and art can be. So I think it's challenging. But I think everything's good about this, and I will say I think like the actors really sold it. Like this clearly would not be an easy movie to make. And you really have to trust who you're working with.
Yeah.
To say the least.
They're likable.
Yeah, no, they're likable. The dialogue, like there was a lot of parts that were genuinely funny. Like it felt like those parts are actually what got you really invested in these characters because like it felt real, it felt genuine.
I agree.
And so between the character work, I think the score is good. He said the concept of obscenity is tested when we dare to look at something that we desire to see but have forbidden ourselves to look at. When we feel that everything has been revealed, obscenity disappears and there's a certain liberation. When that which one had wanted to see isn't sufficiently revealed, however, the taboo remains, the feeling of obscenity stays, and an even greater obscenity comes into being. Pornographic films are thus a testing ground for obscenity, and the benefits of pornography are clear. Pornographic cinema should be authorized immediately and completely, only thus can obscenity be rendered essentially meaningless. In the realm of the sense.
Damn, dude, how do I follow that up? I feel like going into star counts, that's a little tough act to follow. Way to steal my thunder. No,
Just gotta do it. Just gotta do it.
I just gotta do it. In the Realm of the Senses, I think is a great movie, and real quick to hark back on what Bee Cee was saying with that end quote there, I agree with that. You know, I feel like pornography is viewed in a very like repulsive manner, and it doesn't need to be. I mean, sometimes bad things can come from pornography. I mean, you know, movie producers and you know the industry itself can, you know, beget some, you know, bad things, you know, but at the same time I feel like, you know, sex is a fact of life, you know, and desire is also very human. And here in the States, we have a very different perspective on sex than, you know, maybe someone internationally does. So I agree with those sentiments at the, you know, very end there. And I gotta say, this movie I think is a winner. I'm giving it a strong 8.5, almost 9. Uh-oh. Lowballing, dude? Like,
that's like,
literally?
wow. Well, shit, it wouldn't be the first time that happened here. Anyway.
It's true.
Some low-hanging balls in this movie.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, I mean, it's a good movie, good, you know, good dialogue, good story. So, I mean, with everything included, you know, in this film, I would say 6.5, 7 stars for me.
All right.
Dang, I don't think that a movie like this could be made without, you know, the actual like non-fiction part of this that he had to draw from. You know, that this is, he could get away, quote unquote, with this movie because this is a true story.
Yeah.
You know, and this is something that, you know, generally the Japanese people would be familiar with. Like this made headlines, this made waves, you know, and this happened in 36, so this is a little less, this is about 40 years later, so this would still be in people's minds of something that had happened, so he could use this, you know, to tell this story and to break down those barriers and to challenge censorship, because look, you know, this is something that actually happened, like these things happen, you know, here it is, you know, so the way this is presented with the performance the actors delivered, you know, your cinematography and everything else, the feelings it makes you feel. Yeah. I'm gonna have to give this 10 out of 10 stars.
Oh, wowzers!
Speaking of the censorship, this is still not shown in Japan uncensored.
Wow.
I don't doubt that.
I don't doubt that
so
either.
it you know, it's still a controversial film all these years later. And other Japanese directors, Obayashi, the guy that did House, which you love a lot,
I do like
has
that.
his own take on this woman. So it's still very much a part of pop culture. But for me, I always try to like review things like, okay, how much did I like this, and then like how good is it for what it is. I happen to like this a lot and think it's really good for what it is. I think you'd be hard pressed to find many erotic films that are as artful as this one, or that were as boundary pushing as it. And I can't really give it any less than a 10. So
Damn, 2 10s, an 8, and a 6, 6.5. I gotta say, I feel like this movie, I mean, to some capacity, was a winner for us. I mean, it definitely kept our attention.
Yep.
It's a film that obviously needs to be seen by the masses. I mean, this is a movie where it pushes boundaries and it's art. This is what cinema is made for.
Dude, this is master class cinema right here. Like, this is graduate level.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, this is not a popcorn flick.
No.
This is not, we're just going to throw this out at the party.
Yeah.
You know, this is sit down film study, like, not just film, but like everything, like society, like the whole 9 yards, folks. Like, this is
goddamn,
the deepest. This is the.
He really liked this one.
How much deeper can you really get in a film? Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know. Watch the movie. You might find out.
I mean, without us taking that insane deep dive on it, like, whew.
Yeah. The next time, tune
Tune
in to Neon Trash.